Hello, this is Tucker from the Math and Physics Resource Center at SVSU, and in this video we're going to go over how to solve rational equations that have different denominators that are both binomials and trinomials. So our overall goal with these problems is to get them all to have the same denominator, and then we can solve for x. So in order to do that, what I like to do first is take this bigger denominator and see if we can factor it out to make it look a little easier. So remember, if we want to factor something like this, we need two numbers that multiply to be -2 that add up to +1. So the factors of -2, since it has to add up to a positive number, the smaller number will be the -1. So we've got 2 and -1, and these add up to +1, so these will be the two numbers that we use. So if we rewrite the left-hand side, for x minus 1, that's equal to 9 over x plus 2 times x minus 1. So now these two sides look kind of similar. So if we compare each of these denominators, we can pick the least common one based on just looking at it. Since this one has both x plus 2 and x minus 1, and these two terms have them individually, the least common is going to be x plus 2 times x minus 1. So if we want each of these terms to have that, we have to multiply this term by x minus 1 over x minus 1, and this term by x plus 2 over x plus 2. So if we do that, multiply across on both terms, then we end up with x minus 1 over x plus 2 times x minus 1 minus 4 times x plus 2 over the same denominator, x plus 2, x minus 1, and then that's still equal to 9 over x plus 2 times x minus 1. Now, since all of these have the same denominator, we can actually cancel the denominator out on all three terms, which just leaves us with the numerator from each of these terms. So we have x minus 1 minus 4 times x plus 2 equals 9. So now let's simplify this left side a bit. We get x minus 1 minus 8x minus 8, or not 8x, I'm sorry, that's 4x minus 8. 4x minus 8 equals 9. So now we combine like terms. We got an x minus a 4x and a -1 minus an 8. So we end up with -3x minus 9 equals 9. So we can say that -3x is equal to 18 by adding that 9 over. And now x is equal to -6. And that's our final answer for that example. So now moving to example 2, we're going to do a similar thing, where what I like to do is take the biggest term and see if we can factor it. So if we take this and want to factor it, we need two terms that, or two numbers that multiply out to -50 but add to -5. So -50, and since we're adding them to a negative number, well, since our final result needs to be a negative number rather, the bigger numbers in the factor sets are going to be the negative ones. So we have 1 minus 50, we've got 5 minus 10, we have 2 minus 25, and that's about it. So if we add up each of these, we want to see which one adds up to -5. So this one's -49, not that one. This one is -5, so we'll pick these two numbers. So if we factor it out again, we get 3 over x minus 10 plus 1 over x minus 10 times x plus 5 equals 1 over x plus 5. So now, just like the last problem, we want the least common denominator, and since we have x minus 10 and x plus 5, and x minus 10 and x plus 5, sorry, we need to get this x minus 10 to be multiplied by x plus 5. So we'll do x plus 5 over x plus 5. Here, I'll draw a little divider here. And then this one, we've got x minus 10 over x minus 10 to multiply. So we'll multiply across again. We get 3 times x plus 5 over x plus 5 times x plus 10 plus, or x minus 10, I'm sorry, x minus 10 plus 1 over x minus 10 times x plus 5, and then we've got x minus 10 over the same denominator again, x minus 10 times x plus 5. So now again, since all the denominators are the same, we can cancel them all out. This only works if every single term in the expression has that denominator. So now we can simplify this out. We'll distribute this 3 in here and get 3x plus 15 plus 1 equals x minus 10. And now we'll combine like terms and get 3x plus 16 equals x minus 10. And now let's work on solving for x. So I'll subtract this 1x over and get 2x plus 16 equals negative 10. And then we'll subtract that 16 over. And we get 2x equals negative 10 minus 16 will be negative 26. We'll divide by that 2, and x is equal to negative 13 as our final answer. And that's about it. Thank you for watching.